Okay, so we're ready to start. Randy's on his way, but we're going to go ahead and start. Got all the kids here tonight. We got school tomorrow, so we'll get things moving. So bear with me. It's my second time doing this. So. Do I actually have to?
Yeah, go ahead and bang the gavel and call it to order.
Meeting's called to order. So official. So we'll do roll call.
Thank you. Commissioner Becker. Here. Commissioner Ittner.
Here.
Vice Chair Rylander.
Here.
Commissioner Basor.
Here.
Commissioners Ford and Ronick will not be here this evening. Our Chair Randy Haney is held up, and he is en route to the meeting, and he will be here as soon as he can.
Okay, so now we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, if you all stand. Austin, would you like to lead tonight?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks.
After we do public comments, we do have 2 short presentations, so if you could
Okay.
and I can just cue those.
Okay.
Thanks.
So now's the time for public comments, and that would be anything that's not on the agenda tonight. Does anyone have a speaker card? I noticed they were all gone on the counter, so.
All the kids.
Yeah, for homework for later. So I guess we don't.
I don't have any speaker cards, Vice Chair.
Okay. Okay, so we'll move on to approve. Is that?
Just fix that.
Okay. We'll move on. We have 2 presentations tonight.
Oh, you want to do approval of minutes?
Or do you want to do that first?
Oh,
Okay.
it's your, whatever you'd like to
Okay.
do. We can stick with the order, maybe do the minutes first.
Let's stick with the order.
Sounds good.
So approval of minutes. Has everyone read the minutes?
Mhm.
Do you want to make a motion? You all read the minutes and
I have.
approve?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you want to make
Go
a,
ahead.
Yep, I motion we approve the regular meeting minutes of the September 4th, 2014 meeting.
okay,
Second.
perfect, thank you.
So you would need to take a call for the vote at this point?
Okay.
Aye.
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 And then you state motion passes.
Motion passes. I'm learning, I'm in training here.
Did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You did, but we could probably go back to that.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, you guys work fast. That's not bad.
Run it in.
Okay, so should we go ahead with our speaker?
If you want to go
card?
ahead and call the speaker up for
Okay.
public comment.
Ms. Smith, Carol Smith, would you like to come up?
Oh, thank you very much. I see our new city council person is not here tonight, but
He's on his way.
he's on his way. Good. What I wanted to bring up, I noticed for one of your future agendas, you mentioned playground equipment for Libby Park. And what I always envisioned there, and especially since we don't have a community pool, and something that I think would be a big asset, especially to moms with little kids, would be a very flat bowl, more like a shell. And there's a water feature and water sprays up. And the little kids, and when I say little, this would be for like two to 6 year olds. And they could splash through the water, and the fountain goes up, and then the water can get recycled back to water the grass in the other part of the park. I know as a poor kid in New York City with no access to a pool, I loved it. I would look forward so much to going there with my mom. So it would be a nice little water feature. The water could be recycled. Again, whether it falls into our budget, I don't know. But do think about a water feature there. That would be really for the little ones. They'd have to wear swim diapers, you know, and that sort of thing. But I enjoyed it so much as a little kid, and we have a lot of hot weather.
Yeah.
So again, thank you so much.
Sure, thank you. Okay.
Might suggest, since we've reopened public comment, just to ask again if anybody else would like to speak on an unscheduled item.
Would anyone else like to speak on anything not on the agenda tonight? Nope, we're good? Okay. Okay, so we'll go ahead. We have two presentations.
We have two brief presentations tonight. I apologize they weren't on the agenda. First, I'd actually like to turn it over to our Recreation Manager, Sophocles Katsis, who's going to introduce one of the newest members of our staff.
Yes, it's not a presentation per se, more of an introduction. So I wanted to introduce our newest rec administrator. It's Caitlin Peterson. She's sitting off to my right. Everyone else is left in the audience. Caitlin. Caitlin joined us in July of this year, and so we're very happy to have her. She has lots of marketing experience, background, photography, worked at Meditation Mountain for several years. So again, she's been here for a very short time, but has made a nice impact to the department as far as advertising goes. And as a matter of fact, she's overseeing our ads for the brochure, which we'll be talking about later on this evening. But just wanted to bring her here to introduce her to you, the commission, and welcome her to the department, and hopefully for a long time. So if you have any questions for Caitlin, or
No?
Or
You're
Caitlin,
welcome
would
to
you
the
like
team.
to say anything?
like to say anything,
Come up to
Caitlin?
the, if you want.
I'm grateful to be part of the Ojai Parks and Rec, so thanks for having me here, and thanks for the introduction.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
I have a question. Do you ride bicycles? BMX bikes, maybe?
Yeah. Okay, and did you have another one?
Yes, our other presentation this evening is we wanted to hear a brief report from our Ojai Day coordinator, Amber Young, who's going to give us a brief recap on how we did in Ojai Day this year.
Perfect. Hi, Ann.
Evening, I will make it brief. Thank you so much for having me. So Ojai Day, thus far, we've had pretty good feedback from the community as well as from our vendors. Up when we had just under 200, so we're kind of keeping on par with last year. We had about 190, and this year we're just about there as well as 187. So as far as vendor wanting to come back and be a part of our festival, we're doing a pretty good job. Of those 180, so we had 77 of them were from Ojai, and that includes the nonprofits as well as any businesses. We did have two groups in the food court that are from Ojai. We had the Optimist Club who reported selling over 1,000 sandwiches, and the Summit School PTA sold guacamole bowls, and they sold out by 3:30.
Those were a
So I wanted to try them so bad. So as far as vendor turnout, we're doing really well. We received several emails after the event congratulating us from our actual vendors, saying just how fantastic the staff was and how well things were run. And while I would love to take credit for that, that is due almost entirely to the amazing Ojai Day team that works on our event. We had, prior to Ojai Day, we had 121 team members signed up. And of those 121 team members, I would say maybe 10% of them actually get paid. People just give and give to this event, and it's really remarkable, and it just embodies the entire Ojai community spirit with this team of people. They're just fantastic. So we did have a dinner for them, just saying thank you last night, and we had a nice turnout, and just to say thank you. The bike valet was really good this year. We are working on building our infrastructure, and so as part of that project, this year we purchased the lumber from Ojai Lumber, who's also a sponsor very generously, and we purchased the lumber, and Boy Scout Troop 505 built us enough bike racks to have 70 bike racks actually standing up without kickstands in the bike valet area. In the past, it's been a huge issue for us because we've had to get bike racks from the public works yard and steal them from the library, and it's just a mess. So as we work to build our infrastructure, we're really happy to have that, and had been so fortunate the Boy Scout troop was willing to take such a big project on. The state sponsorships were really great this year. We almost sold too much ad space in the tab, which is a huge, fantastic problem to have. 3 out of our 4 stages were sponsored, so that went really well. The skate contest was another fantastic feature. Thank you. Vice Chair Rylander for putting that together, because it's just really nice to be able to have that there for that part of our community that just, and really highlight something special for them. So we're really glad to have it. And that pretty much wraps it up for me.
Good. You guys have any questions? Yeah,
So
that was good.
we will be coming back to the commission with a more detailed financial report once we have all those figures in.
Thank you.
I'm still invoicing and whatnot. So thanks for your patience, you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amber.
Okay, so next we have police department report.
I don't see anybody here from the police department unless they're hiding back there under cover. But I did want to note one person, our council member, Severo Lara, who's the liaison to the commission, did step in. So welcome, Councilmember Lara.
Okay, so next would be public works update.
We do have our public works superintendent, Mr. Grant. Give us a few updates. Thank you.
Thanks. Good evening, Commissioners. The update, I had a few things to bring you up to date on. I haven't been in here for a little bit. And primarily, number one, the playground proposals. I think Carol Smith just mentioned these as well. And we have a few different concepts and proposals we're getting from various playground providers, vendors, and Steve and I are coordinating to have the facilities committee meet to review these plans for 1 or 2 meetings first. And I think most optimistically, we have received support for the Lions Club. They're willing to do this community build concept, which is a really neat idea. It's what they did up in Santa Barbara at the, I think it's called Kids World or Children's World up there in Santa Barbara, Alameda Park. And they just built a new playground up in Fremont in the same concept. So that's where you need to have a nice core group of volunteers that will back up, and we get all the supplies, all the raw materials. It's mostly plastic lumber and other lumber. And for 1 week, you kind of move through a bunch of volunteer efforts, and each one of the more experienced people, like for instance the Lions Club, contractor-oriented people would lead small teams that would be focused on different parts of the construction. So within a week, you build this whole structure. So it's promising that they're willing to back it up. I think with them, that could happen. It's one concept that we can present as well as the other proposals that more traditional vendors will have for playgrounds.
So the multiple proposals are from different vendors?
Yes, we'll have about 3 vendors proposing with more traditional equipment, kind of like what's out at Libby or at Sarzati and more typical playgrounds.
Is that for overall design concept or?
They'll have more of a design concept because it's more modular for them. They take their pieces and they can plug them in.
And that's where the volunteers help build it?
And that's more the traditional vendors. That part isn't so volunteer oriented. That's more of
It's a different group that would be proposing that.
Yeah.
You're talking
Oh,
about
okay.
3 different vendors, it sounds like to me.
Oh, okay.
2 of
Yep,
which
3.
are traditional, and one of is a non-traditional design build, where they come in and help facilitate the process as well as do the design.
Okay, I like that. I've had parents approach me that I've actually been sending to Softglees.
Well, and I'm hoping the facilities group will come together sooner than later.
Yes, we're planning to do that this month.
Okay.
I think the goal is to try to pull it together so that, well, we'll
So
see if we
these
can
are-
pull it off or not and get it to the Parks and Rec Commission by the December meeting or not.
And by the December meeting, you mean the full proposal?
If the facility committee does come together on a consensus on it,
See how
then we
far we
come
can get
together
it.
for December.
Yeah,
and
because I feel
present
like we're
to
doing it a
the
little out of
commission.
order at this point.
I thought we were going to have community.
Well, I thought we were going to have a facilities group meeting, and then I thought there was some component of what we were going to.
Look for, and, yeah.
Yeah, we'll need to work all that out. We
Yeah,
haven't
The timeline seems funny.
we haven't set this all out, so I know Greg's always very aggressive with trying to move things forward, and usually we can't meet that aggressiveness, but we'll try.
We like that, but
We do like that.
we did want to get
So-
community involvement
Right.
and
Well,
parents.
keep in mind, yeah, okay, all right, so that's one approach. Yep.
Well, that was what we talked about multiple
Right.
times at more than one meeting, is that as part of this approach, before we get too far along the path, is that we engage the community in what are the options and what are people looking for.
And,
Right.
Yeah, and there's so many different types of playgrounds.
Like a design charrette or some engagement with a group to help people participate in a meaningful way.
And if we decide on that community build, which is one of the options, then that has a huge outreach effort in itself to design a custom design. The
And I
other one's
think-
more modular and plug and play, but anyway, Steve will work that out and
Okay.
And
coordinate
I
with
also
you
think
guys,
with
so.
the other plug and play types, we might want to involve community as
Even at
well.
what pieces
Because
you
we
pick
want to, not the
Certainly.
standard, maybe look at what the kids' needs are and,
Okay. And secondly, the skate park, just want to get an update. It was just before Ojai Day, a couple weeks. We went through and had the $10,000 that the commission approved to spend, so that was all the rehab and updating of the park. So what did we decide? It's 4 years old on Ojai Day. So it was just primarily it was going through and clearing out all the cracks, the cut cracks that help direct any kind of natural cracking on the concrete and so on. So those were all filled. There was a couple minor patches, and they even lowered the rail in the back of the park
Everyone was
that
very
everybody
happy
appreciates. Yeah, so that was good as well. And they even, a few of the steps that had issues, just very minor chipping going on, they put steel plates on those, about 4 different steps. So that was all completed. That was good. Took them quite a bit more effort than expected, so it's almost nice for the payback because it was a set price, and they spent, I think, 4 days, and they returned on a Saturday and then returned on another Wednesday with issues on punch list we had for it. And while we were out there, the crew was out there doing a little bit of nighttime security, so we had them paint the restroom, fix the fence, and pick up all the, I guess we call it micro trash, all that little bit of, candy wrapper trash that keeps accumulating around the outside of the skate park area. That was good. Tonight is the last event at the Libby Bowl, and that means we're planning to pull the shade cloth next week. So we coordinate that with the Libby Bowl Foundation, so that's just free information. Over at Sarzati, you might recall the whole shade area we planned for the picnic area. And it's all dependent on CDBG money, and that's supposed to be coming through for authorization, they say, in the next month or so. So once they authorize that, we'll give you a heads up. We can proceed with the design and get together quotes on that work and hopefully get it built before next summer. That's the schedule. So that was the one we had. We're using recycled funds. We're using a lot of recycled aluminum post and structural elements in it. So it gave us access to a special fund the city has. And it would be a shade over the 2 picnic areas at Sarzati. And then, let's see, the roof, I just want to give you a heads up that we have got, are awarding, re-roofing some buildings for the city. And next Tuesday's council meeting, and we're doing the museum, the city hall, and the Libby multi-purpose building. So that had some issues with it with rain, so that'll have a new roof. As part of that, people might know in the back of the bleachers, people hop up onto that roof. And it's where they have camera crews during the Ojai tennis tournament. And the gutter always gets beat up. And so we're removing that gutter, and we've got a new flash detail that'll just be better and not be hammered as people jump onto the roof. And let me think of other stuff here. Just for a heads up, I think some people in the community have asked about it. We do have the fountains shut off as part of the drought. So we've got the Clef Vista fountain shut down. We've got the Plaza Matilha Poppy fountain shut down, and then the Libby Park fountain, and all these fountains do use recycled water. In some respects, it's okay to leave them on, but they still use a significant amount of water each week, so we shut those off. But Libby Park, maybe it's the closest thing we have to a public pool, and we've left that one open. Right.
I saw a gentleman there today with his dog, so I guess it's,
Dog bath.
yeah.
Public bath, whatever you want to call it. So that one is on. We do get some questions about that and some criticism, but I think everybody's felt that's pretty reasonable, especially with the recycled water. So hopefully you agree on that. And then there's something people may not be too well aware of. It's called the Chambron Garden in the lower Libby Park. And that's a special area that's been dilapidated somewhat. So we've got the crews scheduled to hit that in the next week or two. They're going to clean up all of the garden features through there. They'll place new mulch and fix up the borders along the DG pathways and clean it up. And then lower Libby also, we noticed some arundo and palms are starting to come up after it was all cleaned out from it was a volunteer, a couple groups that worked on that at the time, Green Coalition, other groups pulling all the weeds. So we're have an effort in the next couple of weeks as well to remove the arundo and palms. And finally, we are working on trash cans. I think I've said that before, but it seems like they always get shuffled to the back burner. So we have got plans to replace the trash and recycling cans throughout Sarzati and Libby and even the downtown area. And there's just a bunch of options. We're trying to figure out a way to get it. So many of the homeless crowd, I guess, pop the lids off and leave them off to the side. So we're working with a few vendors to try to make it so they're a heavy hinge that kind of self-shuts after people rifle through them and pick out the good stuff. Yeah. All right, that's it for me, unless you had any questions about
Thank you. Do you guys have any questions?
Go ahead, sir.
You mentioned a lot of things, but one of the, maybe you mentioned it already, but the changing the surfacing at
That's what I wanted to
Sarasota.
Thank you.
That's all right.
I appreciate you.
That's a
plugging
project
that one.
that's going to happen like in the next couple months.
We've got that in thank you. I meant to actually have my list, and that is the playground at Sarzati Park. That was identified, that sand is being a potential risk because it does get so compacted. So we've allocated monies for that, and we are pulling the sand. We're going to replace the borders that are kind of rotting around there as well, and we'll be replacing it with engineered wood fiber. And that's planned for the first 2 weeks of December. So if anybody needs sand, it's be available. Sandbags, whatever else you need, right?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So we ready for discussion items?
Well.
So, would you like the first one? Their bike park concept.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So this is really the first time that this has been, I think, formally before this commission for some discussion and some input. I think you've heard informally from not only the group and individual supporters, but staff has also been giving you updates as we have continued to work with them. Just to briefly recap the history, this was an effort that was really initiated by members of the community and came up with the idea to be able to create a bike park, really a pump track that would be available for use in the city. Their first attempt was an excellent attempt. They were working with the school district to try to secure land just north of the skateboard park, which I think everybody agrees would have been really an ideal location for the bike park. However, though for the district, that did not work out for their plans in the short term. So since that time, we have been working with the group to try to brainstorm and come up with potential locations where we might be able to put a pump track within the city that would meet the needs of the community and also be safe and accessible and not cause too much disruption, hopefully, to any surrounding uses or residents. So we did not limit our search to just city properties, just to let you know. We really tried to pull back to the 35,000 foot level, and I literally looked at Google Maps and tried to identify large pieces of property that might be suitable for such a location. And as I stated, we didn't limit that to just city property. We thought about, let's check with the county, see if perhaps they have property. And even at this point, we've said if there was a suitable piece of property that was even private property that somebody would be willing to enter into some type of a economical deal with the city, that we could possibly consider that as well. But at this point, we felt that we had done quite a bit of work with trying to develop some potential sites, that we wanted to get it at this point before the Parks Commission to give you a chance to give some input on not only the potential locations, but also the process on this as well. What we've been saying all along is until we can really have an idea of a site, we can't really get into a lot of the details beyond that in terms of, what would it need, budget, access, those types of things, because a lot of that can be very dependent on the location that you choose. But again, we felt that it was time to bring this before the Parks Commission and get your input. So we considered a number of potential sites, and we tried to really focus on some key factors in trying to analyze those properties, including compatibility with the surrounding properties in the neighborhood, safety, both the site itself and access to it, thinking about, travel to and from the site, since we figure most people would be traveling to the bike park probably on a bicycle. Probably a fairly safe assumption, though not always. Ideally, a central location certainly would be preferred, so that it's as most accessible to as many people as possible. Parking is always an issue as well, and make sure that there would be available parking, and that's also a compatibility issue. And then another factor that we've also felt was important was proximity to, or availability or access to a public restroom, simply because not having that can be a real deterrent for not only the people that are trying to use the park, but then, you know, where do people go and that type of thing. So I know we struggled a little bit with that in the past with the skateboard park, so we felt that that was pretty important, that there be some type of access to a restroom. So with that in mind, we sat down and tried to crunch a number of locations. And the best sites to date that we've been able to come up with are the 4 locations which we are presented in the staff report tonight. One of those, and this one might have the most questions surrounding it, would be if we were to locate it in Sarzati Park. Obviously, there's a lot of uses already in the park and a lot of competition for space there, even though it's a very large facility and there's some areas that aren't fully utilized. You know, it's really primarily designed for, you know, to accommodate the playing fields and whatnot. And then, of course, we have all our recreation buildings and programs and all that. However, you know, we felt that it was at least worthy to put on the list because it did seem to fit a lot of the criteria that I mentioned. It is, I mean, it's already an established park. There is parking. There is a public restroom. It's in a fairly central and safe and easily accessible location. As this commission is well aware, we're going to be taking to council soon an RFP that we will hopefully get their approval, that we'll be able to go out and do some master planning for, maybe not master planning, but to do some update to our planning and our plans for how we are using Sarzati Park and how we can best utilize it going forward. So we give that location, noting that it meets many of the criteria, but with this RFP out there and doing some planning, it would seem to be a little bit of the cart before the horse if we were to say, well, let's put it here. But we at least wanted to put it in there and keep it in mind as a location to be considered because it does fit a number of the criteria quite well. The other one that I wanted to address is we call it the old tennis courts, and for those of you who are not familiar with that, it's actually located just behind City Hall here, just a little south of City Hall, next to the community garden. It's a little small, we recognize that. It is within a public use area. There's not a restroom right there, but there are restrooms not too far away. I mean, we do have restrooms here at City Hall. Parking is an issue there. There's not really any established parking, but we could probably carve out a few spots. But again, anything that we were to do at that location would probably require some real rethinking of how we're using that area and accessing that area. But it is a city-owned property, and it is underutilized at this time. The other one that we looked at, and I say we because it was really more the efforts of Toby Green on this one, to check with the county property, which is next to the county fire station. They indicated that they would be amenable to looking at doing something like that there. There's a lot of factors with that, including there's no restroom there. It's not very central, not very centrally located. Bit of a concern just because a lot of people would have to be traveling along Ojai Avenue to reach that location, and it's quite a ways out of town. Of course, we want it to be where people can reach it so that they're not tempted to, anyways. So, but we did talk with the county, and they indicated that that is a potential site if it was something that we were interested in looking at. The fourth location that we want you to consider is a portion of the Lower Libby parking lot. This is the parking lot that's adjacent to the lower tennis courts, and if you follow where Montgomery wraps around there, down closer to Persimmon Hill and all that. The location is ideal in that it's in an established city park, Libby Park, obviously. There are restrooms nearby. There is public restroom located at the lower tennis court facility there. There is parking, though we'll have to talk a little bit more about that because that's both good and bad. It seems to fit the criteria of being safe and accessible and central. In fact, one of the nice things about this location is it actually is, the Valley Bike Path actually runs adjacent to the site. However, and if you've spent any time on a normal weekday or even a weekend going through Lower Libby, you will find that most of the time the parking lot is not heavily used. In fact, most of the time there'll be usually just a few cars in there. I don't want to get the impression that it's not regularly used because it is regularly used. You will frequently find vehicles there, mostly people using the park or really for the tennis. But let me talk a little bit more about the concept here, and then we can talk a little bit about the pros and cons. What we were looking at there for the actual site is, probably should have brought a diagram here, apologize for that, but the actual southern portion of the lot, there are 36 parking spaces that pretty much go in a circular motion around that little landscape area. I think there's like 1 or 2 oak trees right there. So we looked at that with the bike folks, and we think that area would give them more than enough space for what they wanted to do. However, the big drawback is it would mean that we would be losing 36 parking spaces in that lot. Which is about half. I don't have the count here in front of me. I had counted it up at one point, but it would take about half of the spots. However, that would be a real issue there are certain times of the year when that lot is filled to the brim. And in fact, all of downtown Ojai is pretty much filled to the brim looking for available parking. The tennis tournament is one. They use that lot for that event, and it gets filled. Ojai Day, I made a point to walk down there through Ojai Day, and you could not find any spots in there. In fact, you couldn't find many parking spots. It was very well attended this year. And then the other potential impact would be Libby Bowl events, especially ones that are very popular. I don't know quite how much how much really use they have been drawing to that parking lot. I think the parking for those events has been spread out a little bit, but I haven't actually observed that firsthand, so I don't know. But certainly, I think it could be a concern if we start, getting a lot of heavy attendance at the Libby Bowl events. We continue to be open to considering and exploring other sites as well. This is certainly not meant to be a definitive or the complete list, and we're certainly, as I said, open to considering other ideas.
Irene.
Are you trying to make a dramatic entrance?
Yeah.
Actually, I was wondering why it was locked. Good evening.
You're not part of the group anymore.
I know.
Yeah.
It's still yours.
Oh, I was handing it over.
Oh, welcome, Chair Haney.
Thank you.
Or-
Well, Sunday's doing a great job. Let's let her run with it.
So I was just about finishing up on my staff report on the bike park concept, and I think probably getting at a good point here where I'd be happy to answer any questions. I also know that the organizers are here tonight and would also like to address the commission. And also looking for any input or thoughts that we have as we go forward in terms of next steps to be considered. As I said, there's still a lot that would need to be figured out. If we were able to identify a potential site, then we would come back and start working on the particulars of what that would mean. Everything from, would it require any city funding or whatnot? So those are questions that we don't have answers to yet, but that we would be working towards if we can find a location and work towards making that happen. So I'd happy to take any questions.
I just wanted to make a couple comments. Looking at all the sites that you have here, I feel that the Lower Libby would, just my personal opinion from reading this, would be the best one. because it's near the bike path and you have the restroom. And I just want to remind everybody that the skate park took up 20 parking spots in the park and ride lot when that was built. And I think that's been well worth 20 parking spots, so that's just my opinion. I think the use that the kids would have and adults, minus maybe 2 weeks worth of losing 36 spots, I'm sure the mob shop would let people park there for events, or, maybe working with Westridge to see if they could park at their parking lot, or maybe the Bike Coalition could organize alternative ways to get to those events, support that. But those are just some of my thoughts. I don't
Are
have
we
a problem.
gonna open up for public comment now?
Yeah.
Are we gonna discuss and then open up for public comment, or?
Well, I was
asking discussion.
If you had, the commission members had any questions of me first before we turn to the public? One thing I did want to note, I heard just recently that City of Fillmore is building or recently opened a pump track down there. So I don't know if any of you are aware of that, but I did get that. I did get that from a Fillmore city official. So apparently that's in the works there.
So should we,
Did
questions?
Commissioner Becker, did you have a question? I'm sorry. No, okay. I apologize.
I think the presentation was good, lots of good
Yeah,
information.
very good. And I think it would be nice to hear from them what they, what their best situation would be as far as. Do you have any?
Sir,
Yeah.
Well, I'm Ben Edwards, part of the Ojai Valley Bike Coalition, and fellow commissioners. We definitely agree with Commissioner Rylander that the Lower Libby parking is definitely our 4-star A spot, and the others were put up for consideration because if we have to have a fallback spot. But we definitely feel that's the right spot. It's on the bike path. It's downtown. There's bathrooms there. And one of the things with a bike park that's great is it's very inexpensive to build. It's dirt. And literally the most expensive part of the proposition would be building a bathroom if there was not a bathroom already there. And that seems sort of silly when there are so many underutilized areas in town. And with the parking question, absolutely, we're going to lose some parking spots. I think on one hand, it's okay to choose kids and bikes over cars occasionally. This would be a great time to do that. And also with those events at Libby Bowl, the parking behind where the farmers market is on the other side of town is underutilized during those events. Why not have people walk through town past our businesses to get to Libby Bowl versus parking there, walking straight to Libby Bowl, maybe right back to their car? Let's get them walking through town, utilize that parking for that. Other than that, I think we've spoken to you about what a bike park is, how easy it is to build. It's all above ground. There's not really any drainage issues. It's something that can be built inexpensively. We can throw it up in a few days. I mean, it's a whole different animal than the skate park. Probably what was spent on fixing the skate park these last few weeks or few months would be our total budget to build this thing, if we have a spot with bathrooms already. So anyway, just to reiterate, yeah, Libby is definitely our #1 spot. I think it's ideal. In the parking question, while a slight inconvenience maybe for some people occasionally, the pros outweigh the cons massively.
Do you have any questions?
Are there any other questions? Does anyone else want to speak?
You're good at it.
Please, free, come up.
Yeah.
We want to hear everyone's comments.
It's a really good time to talk.
My name's Doug Colborn. We live in Upper Ojai, and I'll say that my son lives for BMX now, and a number of his friends as well, and we'd be very grateful to see something like this happen. Even though it's kind of a jaunt for us to get down the hill, it's worth it. Anyway, if parking is the issue, I don't know anything about the potential design of this place, but have any of you ever been to the Rose Bowl for a football game? They park on the golf course there. Is there any way we can incorporate a design to accommodate a little extra parking, maybe a gate that comes out so that we can run some cars in there? Again, I have no idea what the design, the preliminary design is, but maybe if that's a serious issue, we can incorporate a temporary parking thing. That way, parking on this thing and close it down for that event if necessary. So, again, just an idea.
Thank you. Go ahead, Toby. Will you guys introduce yourself? When
My
you
name
speak?
is Toby Green,
Thanks.
and I would like to talk a little about the Libby Park being the ideal spot as well, because if you've grown up in Ojai, you know that that's actually a natural attraction for kids on bikes anyways. They go down there and they make their own jumps, and they want to be there already. And also the garden that's there is really beautiful, so parents can sit there, and the garden is really underutilized right now, and I think that'll attract a lot of parents there too. So I really like that spot, and I think our whole group agrees. Thank you.
Anyone else? You guys want to? Are you sure?
So I'm Tim Rohn. I'm one of the owners of the Mob Shop, and fully behind a lot of Toby's efforts to make this happen. Libby is ideal for us too, and yes, we'd be happy to give up our parking lot for events to accommodate some of the parking issues. Which, again, I reiterate what Ben says. I think it's okay to choose bikes and kids over cars most of the time. Actually, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, sure.
Hi, I'm Laurel Colborn. I'm a parent also. My son, as Doug said, my son loves to ride his bike, and I think it would be wonderful for them to have a place to do this. A lot of other cities have done this and have had no problems, and it's just a wonderful thing for the kids to do. One other thing I thought about with regard to the parking is a lot of cities, like Santa Paula, for instance, does the run or die activity at the KOA, and they have so many cars. What they do is they arrange shuttle service. So for the 2 or 3 events a year, you're talking about losing those 36 spots. I don't see why we couldn't set up some sort of shuttle. I mean, there's plenty of
Parking
other
at
places.
Nordhoff or something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's plenty of places outside of town where you could have people park and then just run a shuttle service. And then for the rest of the year, it's serving our kids.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I don't have questions. I have some comments.
Okay.
I guess the first thing is I like that spot too. So I'm in agreement with all of you on that. If we're in a rush, I think that's a great spot. If we can, if we're not in a rush, and we're thinking of the modifications that are taking place at Sarasota down the road, I wouldn't be opposed into trying to figure out how to place it in the existing parking lot to the north of the building, and reconfiguring that parking lot and bringing it to the front of the building. That's just a thought, but that's a long time off, I believe, a year or so, if not 2 years. So that's one thought on that. The transition from asphalt to dirt. That's the only thing that when I think of that, we're not going to tear the asphalt out. We're going to leave the asphalt in. Eventually, we could relocate another BMX track somewhere, and we could restore that parking. So I think we're all in agreement we're going to do that. The other thing is, when it's not in use, how are we going to secure it? How are we going to keep someone out of that space at midnight or at 10 o'clock or when it's not safe? That would be my concern, and a thought that should be brought up in the configuration of what you're trying to achieve there. So to me, it's asphalt to dirt is a concern, and then how to secure it when it's not daylight hours and not when it's in use. So those would be my concerns coming forward with that site.
Can we add to that? Can we comment?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess,
Please come.
I guess, my thought there is there's many, recreation areas in the city that aren't secured. And do we actually need to secure it? I mean, all the playgrounds in town are not secured. Skate park, low fence, not really secured. Because again, with how inexpensive this thing can be built, fencing is a massive expense when you're just talking about dirt. So I don't know, is that even necessary?
Well, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
While we're talking, that just
sure.
comes to my mind is,
Sure.
we don't want to create an environment on our property that someone could get hurt. That's just a thought.
Sure.
It's-
The jumps will be designed by a professional as well, and, right below where we're planning, kids ride down there all the time already, and it's totally insecure.
They will be the safest jumps in town, that's for sure. They'll be the actual first professionally designed jumps.
I think all the ones I've seen do not have fencing. It's, in natural
Right.
environments and kind of.
Like I said, those are just concerns that I had after, thinking about where we're going to put it. And I'm sure that's
We
something that'll
normally
be talked about down the road.
that to our proposal.
Right. And then the other thing was the square footage of the actual space you're looking to develop. Is it an acre? Is it an acre and a half? Is it, 60,000, 80,000?
Well, our current design is based on the land by the school district that we had initially looked at, and our parcel there was roughly, I don't know the acreage, but it was 180 feet long by 80 feet wide.
Really big.
And that's the track we had designed fits in that spot. And essentially the same track will fit in the Lower Libby parking lot. But again, these tracks are very flexible, and depending on the space we get, it will, what track we put in will depend on that space. So we haven't, like I said, 180 feet by 80, we can get it done. And Lower Libby will take that park. But if it's another site, has to be another site, we can get a different park designed.
I also think what Westridge did at Ojai Day, with the new owners, they've opened up their parking lot for public parking now, which
It's huge.
the old owners never did. So that's a benefit to
More than
that site
36
too.
spots.
Yeah, that's more than 36.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's perfect.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Yes,
Yes.
yes, you do.
So I was just thinking about the time that you're worried about it being used after dark or whatever the hours. I would think that the city would be protected if you listed the park hours, and then if anybody's using it after that, then it's kind of on them. I mean, that's one way you could look at it too, and instead of building a fence, just make sure you post whatever hours you're comfortable with and go from there.
Like I said, I just brought it up. It's just, I'm sure it's something that you're going to think of anyway when this finally comes to some form of final stage.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Libby seems attainable because you don't need the bathroom and the funding for that. And it could happen sooner than. So what would be the process? Is there anything that, or do you guys have questions about what's next and what?
Yeah, we do have a question about what's next.
You want to direct them to Steve?
Yeah, go ahead now. Now's the time to ask him, yeah. You want to call him tomorrow?
Those we're looking for at the Lower Libby. What we're talking about won't affect the way cars get in and out of that parking lot at all. We won't.
Correct.
There's a whole sort of alleyway that you enter in and exit off of to get in and out of that park, and all those spots will be unchanged. It's just the loop around the oak tree that, like we've established.
Yeah, this would save all the spots that border right along,
The majority of the parking's unaffected.
right along the
It's just
creek
that
there.
Little horseshoe. Yeah, and so I guess, our question was, if people are on board with the Libby, what's our next step to make sure we can move forward and get, if not a solid yes, it's yours, at least to move forward with the design for that spot.
Well, the solid S in yours, of course, would have to ultimately come from City Council. So what we're looking from Parks Commission tonight was some type of their comment in terms of the location, and also just if there was some general acceptance of the concept as well. And it sounds like we're hearing that. So I think what we would do, if there's support from the Parks Commission, is the next step would be, as staff, we would try to work with you to develop that proposal further to the point where we think we can, bring it back, I think, to the commission and then ultimately back to the city council. And as hopefully that would be a, like a 1-2 process.
Yeah. Is there, any wisdom to sort of take in the temperature of the city council on that parking, so we don't go to them and say, Parks and Rec's on board and here's our proposal, and they immediately say, oh, we're not losing 36 spots, sorry. Do we know that that's not a non-starter with them?
Well, can't,
I don't think you know. You don't know until you
We
go.
have Severo here tonight.
You can't speak for them.
well, we can't really
Yeah.
pull them or contact them or discuss it individually with them. And we would be hesitant to bring something to them that was just one particular question, because they might say, well, I'm okay with that, but, I need to know more of the particulars.
Yeah, sure.
And, so I think if we were to try to do that, I don't know that it would get us any further ahead.
Of course, we're more than willing to put a proposal together. We just have been down that road with the school district. And,
Yeah,
I
no,
think where you're at is this commission's on board.
Yeah.
So now it's just sitting down with Steve and actually finalizing some things and coming up with some drawings. You start finalizing on your side and working with Steve to finalize on his side, then come back to us I believe, and then at that
a
stage,
plan,
we
yeah.
can make a recommendation,
Great.
and then you can take it to city.
It's for us, it's
city
just a
council.
discussion item tonight.
Yeah.
We're not even in a place to make a recommendation, is the
I'll
way it's
just-
agendized.
I'm sorry.
Well-
I'll just add one thing, though. They, usually the council will want to know about the bottom line money.
Sure. Yeah, oh, yeah.
The dollar amounts.
Yeah, we'll have those
Yeah.
numbers for sure.
Yeah, and going forward,
Yeah.
the cost of maintenance and
Absolutely.
who's going to cover that, and
We just
those
think
will be
of all-
some,
yeah.
I'm sure, questions they'll ask that you might want to be prepared to answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, you, any member of your group, you're certainly welcome to address council members individually.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Okay.
Great.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
does the commission want to make any type of a motion?
Well, is it a discussion item? Can we make a recommendation?
Well, I have it listed for recommendation to consider and provide input on potential locations for bike park to be developed.
At the end of your staff report, okay.
Right, so,
So I can make a motion?
What are we making a motion?
Well, I think it would
For
be to
recommendation.
recommend a location,
Okay.
is what we're
If
looking
the
at.
commission's
If the commission's
comfortable with
ready to
that.
do that.
I
And
think so.
did you want to make, you haven't commented, any comments?
No, I like down there. The only thing that we're gonna have to,
oh, your mics.
sorry, address is the, property owners
Yeah.
that are down there off, Montgomery. And I do believe that we should run it by the tennis club.
I think so too.
Just to give them a heads up. I can't really see that they're gonna have a problem with it. We got plenty of alternatives for the 1 week of that, but,
Completely agree. We'll make that contact with
Yeah.
the Ojai Tennis Tournament.
yeah, but I would like to see a concept,
Yeah.
maybe next time, or however, quickly you guys can put it together and pencil out some numbers and that kind of thing, like Soph was talking about. But yeah, I think that's a great location, actually. There's gonna be a little, I don't know, pushback might be the wrong word, but, the people that use the tennis courts are
Most of them.
gonna be
park in the
slow to
back.
get on board because of sharing the restroom thing. But I don't really see that as a stumbling block.
It's an active recreation location.
It is.
It's already
public
highly
restroom.
used.
Well, that
it's
one
in
down
the
there
town.
is pretty much for the tennis.
Well,
guys,
I
but-
understand, but from the
But it's there.
standpoint.
No,
of-
no, no,
yeah,
I'm not
from the
arguing
standpoint of
that.
parks, I mean,
I
as
think
you're
it's
looking
great.
at it, yeah.
No, I
And
think it's great.
That restroom has been on the list of
Well-
things to be worked on, so I don't know, I mean, and it still is,
I was
right?
gonna say, maybe the bike park people could really make friends with the tennis courts people if somehow in their proposal, they could find a way to get some,
There you go.
some barriers or
Dividers
some
between-
dividers in the restroom. So, who knows, you might make some,
my goodness.
some real good friends down there with the tennis people, but I'm getting way ahead of
No
myself.
dividers in the bathroom?
No, but that bathroom is on,
It
it's on the
is.
radar to be fixed. The facilities, it's already on the list.
But you don't have to tell the bike park people that. Just-
I
I'm
also
just
think
kidding.
some form of conceptual drawing, and you might be able to come to the city and actually get some type of an existing site plan that you can do an overlay on.
Yeah.
Might help if you have that to
Yeah,
present it
like
to
an
the
actual-
neighbors, so that they're actually seeing what you're trying to do and the scope of it. And
Yeah.
But-
So,
Should I make a recommendation for,
So we're gonna make a motion to,
recommend the
Recommend-
lower
recommend the
Libby-
Lower Libby parking lot
right,
and
location.
the use of 36 spaces?
Okay.
Okay. How do I do that?
Can I ask to be put on the agenda for your next meeting?
I
Is
think
it too soon?
Well, we can,
Yeah,
no,
thank you.
yeah, we just lost our train of thought. We were in a motion mode, now all of a sudden it's like, oh, an agenda mode. Oh.
Motion for the tennis court, okay.
Okay, so try and articulate it.
Okay, come on, help me out here. Just kidding. I'd like to make a motion to recommend the Lower Libby parking lot and the use of the 36 spaces on the southern end of the lot for for the bike park. Right? Did I forget anything?
Did you get that, Steve? And we need a second?
Second.
Okay, and then all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay. You're in.
Yeah, we're not supposed to
For the
clap,
moment,
but
for
I'm
the
okay
moment.
with that.
Thank you for
I
doing
like
that.
clapping. It's good.
That was for you.
Yeah. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
So thank
you. Still
you.
have it. You're still running.
Okay. So next.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Thanks for coming,
Thanks
you
for all
guys.
the work.
Okay, we'll wait a sec till everyone leaves.
Everybody leaves.
I know.
At least they're smiling.
Now you can move up, Severo. Yeah. So now
Could
we.
you please move forward to the front?
Yeah. Make it look like it's full. Next, we move on to skateboard park security options.
So thank you, Vice Chair Rylander. This is back as a follow-up to the discussion that we had with the joint meeting with the City Council in August. At that meeting, I went through a rather lengthy presentation, and the general consensus at that time was that the council in particular was very interested in trying to see if we could come up with some additional tools in the toolbox, and one of the suggestions that they liked was the idea of developing an ordinance that would provide for the confiscation of equipment, again, to provide another deterrent and way to enforce what was going on at the skate park. The ordinance that was cited at that meeting was an ordinance for the city of Laguna Beach. As we did a little bit more research into it, we found that it somewhat applied to Ojai, but then in other ways it really didn't. Laguna Beach does not have a skate park, so that ordinance was really written to try to give them a way to deal with folks who were using skateboards or other equipment in public places where they are prohibited. So a little different objective with what Laguna Beach was trying to do there. They were trying to give their police department a tool to deal with folks who, were repeatedly skating and, in places where they should not be and where it was prohibited. And they have found that to be somewhat effective. They said that they have used it a few times. With that thinking in mind, there was direction given to the city attorney to develop a confiscation ordinance. And that is still being developed, but we did provide a copy for you in the packet. Couple of things that we discovered as we were researching this, or the city attorney discovered. First off, and this will hopefully come full circle here in a minute, our current ordinance, our current municipal code, he feels is weak in terms of defining what a skateboard is. In fact, he feels that the way our ordinance is presently constructed, that somebody might be able to make an argument that a scooter meets the definition of a skateboard. I think we've had quite a few discussions, both with the commission and with the city council, with the idea that this is a skate park. It was designed as a skate park. It's not designed to accommodate scooters, both from a safety and a design aspect, and also there is the wear and tear that they cause the park, I think to a greater extent than a skateboard, certainly. So that is one thing that we are proposing to address in here, that we add that definition in there so that a scooter is a prohibited piece of equipment in the skateboard park, and it is not considered to be a skateboard. And then what we've also hoping to accomplish with the ordinance is to give another tool for the police to be able to confiscate equipment from folks who are in there. The city attorney does not believe that we would be able to go in there and confiscate skateboards because that is a permitted use. He sees more of a connection between if you're in there using equipment that you're not supposed to, then there is legal grounds for us to be able to confiscate that equipment. So this would be a way that they could then take bicycles or scooters from individuals for a set period of time, and then the police would then hold those. I want to really emphasize here, though, that, and I think most of you understand that in the real world and in most cases, we would very rarely, if ever, get to this stage. But I think having that in the back pocket is a way to be able to warn individuals Because right now, as we've discussed, there's that challenge of what do you do with a minor? What do you do particularly with a minor who's under the age of 14, when the courts have said we're not interested in prosecuting children of that age because they're on a scooter or not wearing the proper safety equipment. So this would be, I think, a better deterrent to be able to issue that warning and let them know you're going to be subject to the possibility of losing your equipment for a period of time, which certainly takes the fun out of what they're trying to do. A couple other things that we've talked about at the staff level, and we also wanted to bring forward to the Parks Commission for their consideration. I know we've had a lot of discussion about supervision versus non-supervision, and actually I should back up a step. This tool that we've been talking about with the confiscation, we really want to make sure that we clearly paint the picture here that the police department is not going to be able to, run down there every time they get a call and address an individual. We've talked about this quite a bit. There's both the limitations on the police department in terms of their numbers and their call load and their call priorities, and then obviously they're trying to triage their most important calls. It doesn't mean that they're not going to get to the skate park, but if it's something, say, an equipment violation or somebody who's in there with something improper, it might take them an hour to get down there. Well, in most of those cases, the individual is probably going to have moved on. So I don't want to paint the picture that this is a panacea or it's going to solve all the problems simply because we're able to have a confiscation ordinance. I mean, it would still require a member of the police department to be available and go down there and make contact and all that, and we certainly have that limitation. We are not recommending or suggesting that the rec staff or other staff would be involved in a confiscation. We really feel that it should be a law enforcement duty. However, I wanted to cover that before I led into the next thing, which was we've had some discussions with the city manager about the concept of trying to provide some spot monitoring of the park. We're stopping short of calling it supervision, but let's be clear, certainly under this concept, when the monitor is there, they would be acting as a park supervisor, which means they would be effectively serving as a gatekeeper, making sure that everybody was using the proper, didn't have improper equipment in there. They were either on skateboards or inline skates, and that they were wearing the proper safety equipment. We're not suggesting that this individual, that there would be any fee to enter the park, but the times that they would be there, they would be enforcing the skate park rules. The concept would be that we would roll this individual out on an unannounced basis. We came up, at least for the purpose of discussion, the idea of allocating 10 hours a week. We would assign that to a recreation leader who we felt would have the right temperament and training to be able to go out there. And again, we wouldn't be asking this person to be a law enforcement officer, but to be, another level of, to have some level of supervision out there for the park. Again, we wouldn't be asking to charge any fee to come in. The cost to do this is about $10,000 a year. We could absorb that under the current budget. We think we have enough funding. We think we have a little, at least the way the trends have been going last couple of years, we expect that we would have enough that would be able to cover that additional expense. But that's somewhat projecting forward. So we also present that to you tonight for your consideration and feedback. And I should mention that the monitor, if we did go this route, we would be looking at putting them out there potentially on weekends. And we would try to assign them hours when we anticipated higher, more peak use at the park, obviously to get more bang for our buck there and to be able to reach more persons. Another idea that has been discussed about at the staff level is the idea of putting a video camera at the park. This could be set up so that it was either a tool that would be accessible to staff and law enforcement, or you could set it up so that it was a publicly available webcam. You'll see a lot of parks that have such locations. I know some ski resorts operate it so that people can check on conditions and whatnot, as well as not only being a security deterrent. The webcam would allow people, not only staff but also parents, just to check up and see what's going on in the park, even if it's just how busy is it today, or what do the conditions look like, or what's happening out there. And again, it would provide us a way to be able to keep tabs on the park a little bit better. But again, as I think you know, it doesn't mean that we would not be able to have eyes on the park on that webcam, 24/7. That's just not possible. But we could create it such a way that it would at least do some minimal recording so that you would be able to go back and check something if you say you had some serious incident there. And of course, if we were to put something up like that, it would require signage to let people know that they are being videotaped. But it could actually be a nice promotional tool for the park if it was something that we wanted to consider, just because it's just one more way to get it out there and make it known. I think I've covered most of the issues that are in the staff reports. Does the commission have any questions, or is there anything that I didn't cover in your mind at this point? So we're looking for some type of recommendation on the options that are being considered for skate park security, and that could range from everything that we're proposing to nothing at all, or some other suggestion that the commission would like us to consider.
I have a couple.
What, you guys want to talk, I think we should just
Talk about
discuss it.
it, yeah.
Talk about it. So let's open it up and,
You want to go ahead? Do you have anything else, Dan? We could just go around.
yeah.
Not quite sure if I lean one way or the other on the ideas presented, but I think they're all pretty good options. Webcam is seems like a good tool, like you said, for advertising the park or getting it out there, more people to see the park. When I used to skateboard, I'd go to Santa Barbara for their skate park because I just knew about it from friends. So the more people know about it, the more people will hopefully use it for the right purposes. So.
Couple of things. The video camera, I think, if it's done, it needs to be done as a publicly accessible camera. I don't see any use in doing a law enforcement and monitoring situation because I think it's negative, and I think you could do the same work with everyone using it, and I don't see any advantage to that. I still am, I don't know, I come away from this a little confused that we've gone so far down this path of all this need for security. That's not where I thought we were. That's not where I left that meeting. I left that meeting, our joint meeting that we had, with a feeling that we could use some more tools and let's have some more discussion. I really feel like we now have, like, I think that we're talking about monitoring versus / supervision. That's a slippery slope. I'm not sure where we're going with that. My understanding is if we're supervised, we have liability. If we're
That's
not
correct.
supervised, we do not have liability. So are
We're
we
much more
creating
protected.
liability for the 10 hours a week that we're doing this? And to what end are we doing that? Are we in a place where we feel like we really need that? Because I'm not clear about that. So I would not be ready to recommend, I think that I'm happy with the definitions of the skateboard, definitions of a scooter. I think all of that's really important. I think that the clarification that they're looking to do is useful, and the confiscation, if they can do that, is a lovely tool to have in the toolbox. But the others, I'm not sure that I feel comfortable that we have all the information we need to even know whether that's what we need. I think we're going down a path that kind of came out of nowhere. It didn't go, the skate park committee, what do we call that, skate park operations committee has yet to meet and talk about any of this. So that's a little bit, cart before the horse, because this is directly under the auspice of that particular committee, and they have not been called together. So I'm uncomfortable
Well, the reason why we haven't gotten the skate park operations quite clear is because we're getting direction coming down from the city council, so.
That's fine, but I'm giving you real
Sure.
feedback from people who've been in the trenches with this the whole
Understood.
time. And so I think it came up in a meeting where it was not even agendized in the very beginning, where this whole supervision thing came kind of out of nowhere. And then it's kind of circled back around, went to our joint meeting, and got some steam, but I don't think it got steam from the groups that have been actively participating in this. I think it got it from a totally different direction, and I'm not clear that we're not pursuing a path that, it hasn't been vetted yet with some of the groups that should have absolutely been approached before it's gotten to this distance. So that's what I feel about it, so go ahead.
So, I do. So as far as the, definition and the ability for confiscation, I think that that's a great opportunity to have for the future if the police need that, if we get to that situation, because currently at the skate park, there is no issue anymore. I mean, it is just like, it's not happening. It hasn't since we kind of came together and everything went out publicly. It really is a non-issue. I can't say that it will ever not come back, like it goes in waves. So I think having being able to take a scooter or a bike is a great opportunity for the police to have something to do now. You know what I mean? So
Well,
I think
and like I
that's-
said, it gives them another
Yeah,
little
like-
level of threat there that they don't have right
Yeah,
now.
and I mean, we all agreed we didn't want to ticket 10-year-olds and things like that. So it was just, it's a
Right.
great answer. It's a solution for them
And I
it-
like that there's a warning.
Yes,
It's
and then the
built-in
kids-
warning, which I
yeah.
think is a great way to go.
And then the word will get out, the kids will know that that can happen, and they don't want that to happen. So I did talk to the skaters, young and old, and it's like a non-issue there. It's not a problem there anymore, so as far as the scooters and bikes going in. So to go straight to paying $10,000 for someone to come 10 hours a week seems like a waste of money to me. It could be if, say, 6 months down the line, this all happens again, and we're like, okay, well, we really need this. It would make sense to pursue that, but right now, and in the last couple months, it's a totally different scene. The webcam I think that'd be cool. Venice Skate Park has one. I think it needs to be public, and it needs to be like an open, all the kids go online. I think Santa Clarita Skate Park has one. You look to see, is it super windy out there today? I don't even want to drive 2 hours.
Right.
You're picking your options where you want to go as a recreational facility. And then parents could see, or anyone could see. Just like you can look at the intersection off Ojai, off the Playhouse,
Right.
I don't know what you see there, but anyway, I just think going to the monitored situation is completely unnecessary. I just wouldn't want to spend the money to do that. I don't know how it would benefit anything right now, so.
Well said, Lace. I agree, absolutely. I am absolutely, totally against monitoring in any shape or form. I believe that it opens us up way too much to the possibility of liability, which, thanks to you guys, we're functioning much better. We're on the path, hopefully, for a place for the bikes.
And we talked about scooter parks.
We've talked about the scooters, maybe making a little scooter park there at Sarasate. We've talked about many times. Hopefully, we can, when we get our plan up. So the confiscation thing, great. I mean, that's just another tool, like you guys said. That's cool. But absolutely don't support or recommend any kind of monitoring at all. I think it's a waste of staff's time. I wouldn't want to be the staff member out there confiscating or even telling people not to be there. That's got to be extremely uncomfortable. So, yeah,
Well, my comments are, I initially wanted supervision. In fact, I had written a program on how to do a full cost recovery on it. But the reality is, you're right. Since you guys had gone out and actually met with all the skaters, and we've changed that skate park. So it's not an issue. However, it's not to say that come spring break or come summertime, that maybe having someone from the recreation department go over, and not necessarily to police, but just to interact.
Yeah,
It's a park, it's one of our facilities, and you don't have to go in heavy, you gotta go in as, you know, hey, you guys look great. I mean, it could be a positive versus a negative. So I see that as being the use of any type of recreation.
Yes.
I do like the monitor, I just don't know how to, I don't know how it works, to be honest with you. I think it would be great if I was a parent and my son said, we're going to the skate park, and I knew what time and blah, 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 and if I wanted to make sure my son or daughter was there, I knew they were there, and I also knew how many kids were there and was it a safe environment. So I'm for that. I just don't know how it works, and I don't know how it would be streamed. So that's my thoughts there. And then as far as the confiscation, I know Austin brought that up, but I've been thinking of it for years, you know, with this issue. I like the fact that we're gonna warn first. If I remember correctly, back in the day, when police pulled you, interacted with you, didn't pull you over, but they would write a little card out with your name and all your information on it, and they'd file it. It wasn't anything other than, I think they accounted for their time. So I am all for something like that, and I think a warning versus heavy-handed tactics is good. And if a young person abuses their privilege there, then they should have their equipment confiscated, and there should be a waiting period, and I didn't see the time frame in that.
It's the first one, and then the first offense is.
The wait, I didn't know if it was 5 days, 24 hours, or.
30, I didn't bring my copy.
And then the second one is 30 day. That's for the second offense.
Second one?
The first one warning, and then there's a first one, which was a day, a week, okay.
Okay.
For first time and for a period of 30 days for all subsequent confiscation.
So obviously I'm for that, and then just to bring it back into what Sage was saying is, there is a committee that this should be, I think we can make a recommendation tonight, Steve, I'm not opposed to that, but part of that might be that we run this by that committee, get their feedback, and then actually make a,
I think there's also, yeah, but I also think there's a lot of history to this that's being left out. Back before we had this park, we did supervise in this city. It did not work well. We moved away from it for a reason. And that's the institutional history that's missing from right now, from here. And I also partially know this because my brother was the first one to run it. And I understand what he went through on a personal level. And so supervision is not as straightforward as you just say you're going to do it and do it. It's a difficult thing to walk the line and do, and I don't think you can do it part-time, not part-time. And so I just think there's a lot. It's not as simple as it's put on, you just decided you're going to do it. And I think there's a lot of history to this that isn't here right now. And this has come up with a new group of people that didn't experience the first round. So that's just a comment on, it isn't that we haven't done this before, it isn't that it hasn't talked about, and we've been through it, and so it's important also to remember some of that.
well, I know we had obviously we had an issue, a
Yeah.
big issue, and that's why we had the joint session. And since that time, obviously that issue's abated, so.
Well, and we handled it through public awareness,
Right.
and raising awareness and engaging the public and the community and trying to come out of it that way, and I think that should always be the first tool.
So again, having the opportunity or having more tools in your toolbox to modify behavior.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely.
Modify behavior. I think this is a good tool. So, Steve did a great job on this.
So we're looking for a
A
recommendation.
lot of good ideas.
Are we ready for that?
Well, I think the recommendations were, I think everyone agreed the webcam would be.
The recommendation for a public webcam and
Right.
Do that
to
would be-
adopt the,
Definition.
Right, it sounded like everybody was in support of
new
the change of the
definitions
definition and the
and the
confiscation,
confiscation.
and nobody was in favor of the monitoring.
No.
Quite clear.
Right.
Okay.
Let 'em know.
Quite clear to me.
Wendy, yeah, go ahead, please, come up.
Thank you. I just couldn't go away without saying congratulations, Chair Haney.
Thank you.
For being elected to the city council, following in Severo's footsteps.
Yes.
Amazing.
I took longer.
Yeah. Well, it's wonderful. And also, I agree, I think this is a perfect example of how a community did come together, once alerted by someone not in the skate community to a situation that was happening. Everybody got together, and the publicity, the notoriety, the meetings, the public outrage, people speaking out about the issue and learning about it. It's interesting, you would say, this doesn't really even apply anymore. But I think it was Betsy Clapp who gave the suggestion that we take it out, the punishment, out of the arena of the criminal system, where it was going nowhere, and brought it back to the municipal system, which is what the confiscation would do. And it's just great. I think this is just a wonderful thing to do. And also the video cam, that would be great too. But the parents, the participants, and all the people who were involved just made such a huge difference. And that was wonderful. So, thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy.
Okay, so
Before we leave this item, looking at Wendy's smiling face, it reminded me that we're taking the skate park lights to the planning commission on the 19th.
Okay.
great.
Whatever that Wednesday is, make sure I got the date correct. Yes,
19th.
the 19th, third Wednesday of the month. So that'll be going to planning commission on that date.
Okay.
Okay, so Steve, do we want to make a motion on this, or do we want to hold our recommendation, or do we want to hold off and let the skate committee actually look this over and let Sage bring back their comments and then actually do something with this? Or can we bid it? Can we just do a little, do parts of this?
Can we
Well,
move parts forward but not others?
We have something scheduled to go to, we've got this confiscation ordinance, hopefully to go to city council on December the 11th. That would be your first meeting, Chair, Councilmember-elect Haney. So I think we would have time to get to the operations committee between now and then and get their comments and feedback, and we can include that. As well with the Parks Commission comments when we take it to City Council. I think there's time and opportunity to do that. So if that's the commission's pleasure, we'll make that happen.
Thank you.
Okay, so that leaves us at, are we making a motion, or this is just a discussion item?
Would we recommend the
You're gonna take
two?
back our comments?
It's, yeah, the feedback and the direction from the commission is extremely clear to me. Yes, yes.
You want us to say it again? Just kidding. Okay.
So I think we're good there.
So now we have reports from commissioners and assigned focus areas. So should we go around and?
Sure, I'll start. Saw Sophocles this week, and I'm doing summer programming. Going to report to you on that. And so what I've learned is that there's going to be 10 weeks for the summer programs, and it's this upcoming summer. June 16th is the start date. And let's see, yep, we will offer approximately about 20 one-week specialty camps, and some of those were surf, pottery, Lego, horseback riding, fencing. I personally got to see the fencing class there. That was pretty neat. And let's see. In addition to these day camps, we will also be doing what current programs like gymnastics and, oh, I got that wording wrong. No, in addition to these 21-week camps, we'll also offer a day camp, and the time is Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and that goes for all 10 weeks. And at that camp, we have approximately 40 attendees last summer, about that. So that's for the day camp. And let's see. Oh, yeah, we also have transport for all the camps. So if somebody wanted to attend the surf, I don't know about surf camp, but what would that be?
Like,
would that make sense?
someone wanted to.
Yeah, they wanted to attend
Someone
two
wanted to
camps.
attend the horse camp, for example, and
Yeah.
that was in the morning. But they also wanted to be on our half-day day camp. We would provide transportation for them from the rec to the horse camp, back from the horse camp to the rec, and then they join our day camp. So that's for any off-site. We don't have a whole lot of off-site one-week specialty camps, but those camps that are off-site, we provide that service of transport.
Yeah, that's got to take a lot of stress off the parents.
Yeah, so they could, essentially they get they don't, if they have to go off to work, they can drop off at the rec at 8 o'clock and then don't need to pick up till 6 p.m. if needed.
That's great.
Yeah.
And we will also have a 6-week aquatic program and swim lessons and public swim in the afternoon. And let's see. Yeah, gotcha on that. And we also have a field trip once a week. Am I correct on that? For the day camp or?
For a day camp, yeah.
Day camp.
Every
right.
Wednesday.
Yeah, and that's concurrent with all the other programs that are happening, like gymnastics and tennis. So, yeah. And, oh yeah, we're also having a special summer program, low cost, $10 approximately, so. That's it for summer programming that I've heard.
He's
for now.
referring to that NJTL, the National Junior Tennis League that we have every summer. And it's sponsored by the USTA, and for $10 you get 24 hours of tennis. So they provide all the equipment, they help pay for the staffing. We supplement the staffing a little bit, but the majority of it's paid for by the USTA. Yeah.
Good.
Our lead instructor, Rick Thompson, runs that program as well, but it's a great introductory tennis program.
I just wanted to interject something while we're speaking of this funding. You know, we had the, didn't we come in second in the,
The the
and
best
I know that
tennis
we
staff.
had, and they set aside some money. Did we utilize all those funds, or is there still part of that left over?
There's still funds in that account. There's about, let's say 14, maybe just under 14,000. And the majority of those funds now are being used for a quick start in the schools to pay for an employee to run that quick start program in the schools.
Great.
Yeah, so.
I was just wondering, we hadn't talked about that in such a long time.
Yeah, no, there's still, like I said, just under about 14,000 in that account. It was used to purchase the quick start equipment too. So it was for equipment, and now we're primarily using it for staffing for that in-school quick start program.
Yeah, that's it for summer programming that I know right now. Probably get more
That
information.
you know in winter.
Yeah, a little ahead of time.
I have no report, and Austin and I were assigned the same topic, so you're not missing out.
And I don't either. I had office. I'm bad. Sorry. I'll come hang out soon.
Well, I was a little busy.
Yes,
So
you were.
I didn't have time to run to gymnastics, but I will say this much. If this is something that we're going to accept to do, I've been negligent in it, and I'm just saying that we should really make an effort. And I don't know, there's no penalty, and there's no fine, and there's no lashes.
You don't get to
Unless Steve's going to inflict something on us.
You get elected to city councils.
He's gonna take your car. He's gonna confiscate some.
Well, let me, I was gonna, I'll talk about gymnastics. I was gonna do it in in the report, manager's report, but I'll just say a little something about gymnastics. 8 of their girls qualified for state meet, which will be this coming weekend in Long Beach. Yeah. So they have 8 girls that qualified. It's a 3-day event. They're not competing all 3 days, but it's quite a big number for a little recreation department program. So yeah, there's 206 children currently enrolled in that program as well. So yeah, and some of them, the younger ages are kinder gym for the 4 to 6 year olds, and our STARS program for 7 and older. Those classes are full right now. So yeah, so it's just a credit to the consistency that we have in that program with staff. And that seems to follow suit in a lot of the programs. The longer the staff are there, and you have that consistent teaching.
Oh, they're dedicated to it.
Dedicated to it.
They're dedicated to that. They are.
Yeah, it's a dedication and a longevity that kind of naturally leads to higher numbers in the program.
So it's either a new basketball facility or it's a gymnastics facility.
We can have both.
Dwayne, do you have anything?
I'm not aware that I was assigned anything. It would be nice if we
It's
really
in- it's in the minutes. Hold on.
serious about this, that we have a list. I don't know. What did
I think we
what did
picked,
miss?
I think we picked something for you. You weren't here that night. Just kidding. Do you remember
What did I
we,
miss?
I don't know.
You're not assigned anything, so.
Yeah.
You
In the minutes,
actually
you don't
were.
have it.
I don't have it with me right
The
now. But
minutes just
everyone
don't-
was assigned a specific area, but
It's
I
not in the
don't.
minutes.
Okay,
I don't
can
know
I
what
get
it
a
is
pass
off the
since
top.
organizing?
It would have been in one of the minutes, probably.
Not the last one. So-
Well,
No, we will.
I'm sure the next chair will bring this up and work it
We'll make
through.
sure.
All right.
Okay, yeah, we're done with it.
Okay. So next we'll go on to activity guide advertisements, because we were discussing this last time when we saw the brochure, so.
Right.
This is the new, the young lady that you introduced is.
Caitlin, yes, Caitlin is going to be, for lack of a better term, soliciting the ads for this current activity guide and then for future guides. Promoting, we'll use that word. So there were some concerns in the last Park and Rec Commission meeting about the ads that were in the activity guide. And historically, we've had ads in the activity guide to help cover printing costs. And it's been at least, in the 12 years that I've been with the department, we've had ads in that activity guide of similar nature to what you saw in the last activity guide.
I think there's only one in particular that we had.
Yeah,
All
and there
of
were,
the other
I
ones.
think some of the concerns were that it didn't differentiate from our programs. It wasn't obvious that it was an ad. There was some discussion about were we charging enough? Were the fees, appropriate? And then where the ads were placed, like, should they be in the front cover? Should they be in the back cover? Where? So we have some control over that, although we do in our advertisement or trying to get ads for the activity guide, we do offer front cover and back cover. So, but where the other ads go in the activity guide is dependent on layout and the publisher's design of that guide. So for us, for our department, we feel like there isn't enough controversy with the ads that we get. We feel like a lot of the ads that we have aren't competing with our programs. And even if we are, we don't feel as though they're affecting participation numbers for us. But a lot of our ads that you do find in the activity guide they aren't competing. They're just not programs that we offer. But I agree, and in the next activity guide, we will distinguish an actual ad from a recreation provided program. So it will be defined. So hopefully that'll alleviate some of the concerns of the commission about.
I think it was just that one, really.
It was a design graphics kind of.
Yeah. And that's your
And
discretion, but.
Yeah.
Yes, and I guess the other part, we don't have an ad policy either. So there's, we do say as space is available, and then we put this sort of open-ended, it's at the discretion of the recreation department as to what will go in that activity guide. So there, I think, is where, if you look through the report, you'll see some cities don't do ads, and at least with one of the city, they don't accept ads because they don't have a policy. So they don't, without a defined policy, then they just say, well, we're not going to do ads at all. Whereas the example that I've submitted in there with Moore Park, they actively look for ads for their activity guide, and they have a similar fee structure to what we have.
Yeah, and in their Moore Parks advertisement, they're explaining exactly what they're looking for to, in the ad. You could do the same thing. I don't think we have a problem with advertising and offsetting the printing cost at all. It was just, when it looks so much like our brochure, it's kind of deceiving. So.
Okay, it was that, I guess that was one of the concerns. So, as I said, in the next activity guide, we will make it clear that the ads that are in there are advertisements and not
I
recreation-sponsored
think that was
programs.
really the only.
And-
It was the one item.
I think there was also some talk about the fees, but of course,
Very
fee structure
curious.
would have to go through council if there were any changes to those fees.
I
It
think
looks pretty,
We look in line with,
yeah, you look like you're doing.
We're definitely in line with Moore Park.
which
We're
is a
almost
good
exactly the
comparison.
same.
Ventura's not a good comparison with us because we don't have the same reach.
Yeah, and they send that
Yeah.
guide, they mail that guide to everybody.
Moore Park's
so.
a much more reasonable comparison.
Yeah, and even Ventura, if you look at that little chart, it's not
That far off.
that far off from what we do. I mean, it's still significantly more interesting. They didn't give a full-page offer. It was
Yes, they have two
half-page.
half-page prices.
Two half, yeah.
And I think also
Yeah.
on here, you
I
could,
think
all you
one's
have to,
color, one's black and white. and
all you'd have to do is just ask for a comp of their ad previous to,
Right.
you
It's
know,
proof.
a proof, send a proof previous to accepting it, and then you
Right.
see, and then you just change it, and then that's.
Yeah, we expect them to be brochure-ready, actually. We're not doing any of the design.
And I
On
mean,
the
you,
ad.
you would see it previous to accepting it, just
Absolutely.
flat out,
You could
because
have-
there's an
Yeah.
fee.
So you could react to it
Yes.
if.
Exactly.
Yes.
You
And
just have an
again, space, as space is available.
Yeah.
And it does say we can use our discretion. So that's the only part that's
Little open-ended.
little
It's a
open-ended.
gray area.
So
It is.
to follow up on that, one of the things that we talked about the staff level and wanted to just briefly mention to the Parks Commission tonight, if you will take a look, Santa Barbara, for example, they have in their written policy that they don't accept advertisements for alcohol or tobacco,
Right.
which seems to me to be a pretty sound policy when you're a city recreation department that caters primarily towards youth and is trying to promote healthy lifestyles and that type of thing. So we think that it might be worth staff to look in a little further into that part of the policy. And I would even suggest that maybe we even expand that to say that we would not accept anything that was alcohol, tobacco, or an adult theme. And what I would mean by that would be anything that's, X-rated or something like that. I would not think that that would be
That we can
appropriate.
refuse any ad that we,
Well, that's the part that's interesting when
Yeah.
we say at the discretion of the recreation department, and it's so
Open-ended.
open-ended, because if we say, okay, well,
Clearly, though.
even though we're partnered
It's
with
working fine.
AYSO. but-
Clearly, though, if somebody came in with one of those categories, we would say. No. What I think I'm saying is, I think that gives us even further, backup if we have a policy like that, just that we wouldn't somehow get into a pickle down the road. We would be able to point to that and say, clearly, our policy does not allow for that, so.
I think my biggest concern with the discretionary policy is it first come, first serve? So in other words, we have 10 spots available, is it the first 10 people? Or if we have 15 people submit ads, do we just pick 10 from the 15? And if mine's not chosen, and I had mine in on the first day, how do you justify that? That's the only grade that I see.
No, it fills up as they come in, as
Yeah,
they
it is
purchase
a-
it.
it is a first.
It is there, so there's
So again, maybe
no bumping.
maybe taking the time to write a simple policy, you might benefit, I don't know, I don't.
I think it's working. I think that I think sometimes when you start to get into trying to write a policy for everything, it becomes more complicated. I think you could even put on their first come, first serve on whatever your application is, so people are clear and that's comfortable, because I agree.
Space available basis.
Space available basis, first come, first serve,
Yeah,
yeah.
we could add that.
Okay.
That little
seems
extra,
like-
but.
I think that's a
Right,
great idea.
that-
You just want to make sure that people feel that it's transparent and fair.
Absolutely.
And
That's what I'm
that
saying.
absolutely makes
Yeah,
sense.
If I had put my money up and I put my ad up and it wasn't in,
Right,
I'd want to know why.
right.
So,
So I think space available and first come, first serve is,
Well, yeah, and I think the reason we brought the staff report forward to you was just to alleviate the first concern about it it being an advertisement and making sure that it was clear that it was an advertisement and not a recreation program. And then also wanted to hear your opinions, or at least share information with you about what other cities charge, and that we
No,
were
it's helpful to see
in
that.
the ballpark,
Yeah.
that we weren't undercharging for those ads,
It looks like you're not.
especially for the population
Yeah,
that we're serving.
it
I
looks like
think it's
everything's
a
on
fair
track.
amount.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So this is the form that did go out this year.
The form you see right there, yes.
And this
for-
is the form that you're gonna modify with your verbiage regarding first come, first serve.
As space is available.
Right.
Yeah,
And
it says that space available on there, but we will add
First come, first.
first come, first served basis.
and then bringing up Steve's concept of tobaccos,
Yeah.
tobacco, alcohol,
Or adult themed
and, right,
material.
right.
Which is
Yeah, we
simpler.
could add that in there too.
I think it's simple.
Yeah, it does simplify it.
Great. Steve, are you looking for something from us?
Do we have consensus on that last part
Yes.
Yes.
regarding the no alcohol, tobacco, or
Right.
adult? Okay.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Okay, all right.
Pro firearms.
Okay.
See, but this is where you
Just
start.
kidding. I'm totally joking.
No, I know you are, but this is how it goes. Well,
I'm totally joking.
I
Sorry.
trust your common sense, Sophocles.
Yes, adult themed material would include firearms.
I just had to say that.
No, I.
'Cause it's like
It's interesting.
too many rules. Okay.
I got one of those Daisy BB rifles when I was 12.
It just goes off in left field.
I know.
We got
Bring
it.
them back. Bring
We
'em
got
back.
it. We got it.
Reel it
Okay.
in, reel it in.
Okay, so we're good with that? Ready for recreation staff reports? You want to talk about fall program review and marketing calendar and budget report? Because it looks like we had our Ojai Day report unless you're.
Yeah,
gonna
I'll
share.
go, no, I don't need to. Heather did, Heather,
Amber?
Amber did a great job with going over that.
What's that? Did Amber talk about that?
Amber did, she
Gave a
Missed
brief
it.
report.
It was amazing.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
So fall programming, talked about gymnastics again, an incredible program with girls competing in Long Beach this weekend. We continue to see success in other areas of consistent programming, such as CrossFit. We have approximately 25 per month participating in that program, and it is basically a monthly membership, as is our Kung Fu program. We have beginner, intermediate, and adult Kung Fu, and that averages about 20 participants a month. Zumba has bumped up their days of the week. They're now offering 3 times per week. And that was a little bit attributed to I think Curves had a
They did.
facility and it closed down.
But they've reopened.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they've reopened, they've got a great program going there right now. My
Where'd
wife
they
goes to
go?
it.
Where'd they move to?
She went out of business and a new lady bought it.
Oh,
and
same
has
place.
brought in, it's a different program,
Okay.
but it's still geared towards women.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it is co-ed, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
good.
ours is working quite well. She's seeing a little bit of increased numbers in the 3 days she's offering to.
Do you have a yoga?
We do not currently offer a yoga class, but you will see it in the next activity guide.
Perfect.
And, yeah, in the winter activity guide, it will be added.
We should have yoga.
Even yoga for old men.
We've tried offering yoga in the past, but we haven't been able to pull numbers on that. But
We really need affordable yoga.
well, that'll segue into ballet, because in the past we've tried to offer ballet without much success, and now the ballet program we currently have has 20 participants. We have a
Great.
pre-ballet class for 3 to 5-year-olds, and then a beginner ballet for 6 to 11-year-olds. And again, we currently have 20 participants, which is a good number for.
See, sooner or later, you're gonna need that bigger building.
We are.
You're
We are,
running out
Andy.
of programming space.
You won't get any argument from me. We are moving to the point where we need more space.
That's great.
And tomorrow night, we'll be offering our series. We have been having a series of movie nights on Friday nights. We've been doing a date night. So tomorrow night we will be having another movie date night where parents can drop their children off for $10. They'll get pizza and drink and popcorn and get to watch a movie, and the movie will be How to Train Your Dragon.
What are the times and ages?
So it'll be 6 p.m. We'll do like a game room free play before the movie, and the movie will be at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And what would you, what
The
other question?
ages that you
Oh, the
accept.
ages. 5 and older.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Great.
Yep.
Date night,
5 and up.
everybody.
Yeah, yeah, you just drop, for
That helps
$10,
the
you get
economy, get everybody out there.
a 6 to 9:30 period of time where you.
What's the
can
average
go-
size so far?
We've, on average, whether it's the parent date night or the family movie night, it's about 25.
Really?
That's
25
great.
in attendance, yeah.
I would have loved that
So,
when my kids were.
Of course, we've done Facebook posts on it. We do promoted posts, meaning if you're,
Paid
if,
advertising.
yeah, for advertising that. We also sent out a mass email to
Great.
everyone in our database.
You'll have 200 kids show up tomorrow. Just kidding.
Yeah, well, we're trying, but some of the some of it comes down to movie choice, I think, and a lot of the movies, like any movie, it's been out for a while, so
Now, do you have any
it's tough to get an attractive movie.
scheduled in December?
We don't have any scheduled for
Or we talked
December.
about the holiday, so
Because-
people can go shop.
Yeah.
We are
You
doing-
have great holiday movies and people shop. So.
Oh, yeah, we are doing, I think the next one is, I don't have the activity guide in front of me. It is a family movie night, and we're doing Home Alone.
Oh, fun.
Trying to do
Which
a
one?
little bit of a Christmas, the
That's his favorite
original,
movie.
Home
That's
Alone.
Favorite movie.
It's the best movie. It's a great holiday movie.
What
Anyway,
day? What time?
I'll get it to you.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Me,
that's,
myself, and I.
and our basketball program. So we are 2 weeks out on finishing the flag football program. And I'll just pass out a basketball flyer. So our player rating will be November 22nd. So I'll just take one and pass it down. So we've sent this flyer just this week out to all the public schools. So they'll be getting that flyer through the school district. So like any program, we're doing our best to promote. It's gone on our Facebook page, and as I said, that flyer's been delivered to all the schools, elementary schools. Okay, that's it for fall programming. Any questions about any other programming that we have going on?
Well, before we leave that, I just want to let Chair Haney and everybody else know that Home Alone Family Movie Night will be November 22nd.
Okay.
Open game room at
Clear
6
reading.
p.m., movie starts at 7 p.m.
I'll try to put that on my schedule. That's a great show. I'm telling you, that's the funniest thing they ever
It
made.
is. It's a classic for sure.
I'm seeing
Okay.
pictures of it. I'm seeing the paint can right now coming down the staircase.
Oh, my God.
One of the we probably will have a pretty big audience for that movie. That is one of the better movies. And like I said, sometimes obviously like any draw on a movie, it will be dependent on the movie. So, How to Train Your Dragon is a great
a
movie,
popular,
but it's
yeah.
been probably watched many times by the kids in the valley. So the next is the recreation coordinator position. As you know, Matt resigned and took a position in another city. We are currently doing an in-house recruitment. So we've given a deadline of November 14th for people to submit, and that is open to all part-time, full-time, part-time seasonal staff currently employed by the city. So
So that's internal candidates.
it is internal.
So we hope to be able to fill it through that process, and if for some reason we're not successful, then we would do an open recruitment.
So any questions about that? Currently, Allison is acting as the interim rec coordinator, so taking on a lot of Matt's responsibilities.
Great. I think it's great.
No questions about that?
Nope.
Okay. Marketing calendar, I just did bring in one sample that I guess I can pass around. It's really for 2015, but pretty much you can assume that it applies for the current year. So we did have a marketing committee at one point. We haven't met in quite some time. And one of the suggestions was to put a marketing calendar together. So oftentimes you'll see on one thing we've started, I'll just throw out there and then I'll pass this calendar around, but it talks about Facebook on deck. So we're doing weekly posts on Facebook that say what's coming up, and then on Friday we'll post pictures of activities that have happened during the week.
Oh, that's nice.
So, and then of course.
You're doing that currently?
Yes, we are.
So the young ladies that are going out this weekend to compete are being posted Friday?
There, probably that will be listed as to what they're going to do, and then, of course, we can't have photos of.
You have a webcam? Just kidding.
We'll post photos of that event, assuming that Vicky gets photos while she's there, and then we'll post them on Facebook. Yeah.
Oh.
So I'll pass this around, but it'll give you a general idea of, when activity guides come out, when we send out, maybe send out flyers, but it is a work in progress.
That's good.
If you have, suggestions of things that might go on there, like, for example, we just, promoting our basketball program, we had we had in Wednesday's paper, a article about youth basketball and that we're accepting registration, but we didn't have it on our calendar, to do it. So in discussion with staff today, we were talking about just this very thing, that yes, we do it. We remind each other that these things need to be done as a way of promoting our programs, but it would be nice to have it on a yearly calendar. So if you see some things on here that are missing or that you think would help to promote some of our programs, feel free to write it right on this calendar or send me an email with some suggestions. I only made one before I came, but I can actually, if you'd like, forward it, attach it.
Or we can give
send
you
it to
copies
by
tonight.
email.
Yeah, I'd like
Yeah,
to
or make
see
you
it.
copies.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you're doing that.
You bet. And just a couple follow-up thoughts on that. I think it would be good, maybe after the first of the year, to get the marketing committee together again. I think we've made some good steps, and a lot of that was based on some good suggestions and feedback that we got from the commission. But obviously, there's more that we could do. I am always watching the bottom line in terms of the budget, and I'm constantly cautioning Mr. Katsas over there that can't always bank on things continuing to move up in a 45-degree angle upwards. So I think as time has gone by, we're probably going to find that it's going to be a little harder to squeeze a little bit more out of that turnip. So that will mean that we're going to need to really continue to be creative and aware of all the marketing opportunities. And then, of course, having said that, the world is changing so rapidly now with mobile technology and everything. Just not to spend a lot of time on this, but I was at a conference last week, and it's actually made my head spin to hear these people talk about how companies now are recruiting people and how that whole process is really changing. So we want to make sure that we don't miss the boat, and hopefully we can get on the boat or stay ahead of the boat. So again, I think it might be good to get the marketing committee back together again after the first of the year and take a look at those plans and see what's worked and see what other things that we might be able to try and do even better.
Yeah, definitely.
Sandy just recommended an Ojai recreation app.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's more and more and more, that's the way to go, so. But, it might be good
I'm a little
to,
regs app, so I've
Yeah.
been,
but just our whole web presence and how we market it and register and all that, so.
We can all meet again.
it's improved.
Yeah.
It's a big change this year. Big, huge.
So that's all my comments on that.
Okay. And the final is the budget report, and I'm glad Steve talked about how I've looked at pie in the sky and everything looks pretty and beautiful, and bringing in numbers. So these numbers that I'm going to pass out to you, I'm going to give you a revenue report and then a expenditure report, and then I'll explain once you get it, once you have a copy.
That's year to date.
This is for
It's year to
previous
date.
fiscal year.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah,
What's the
previous
final?
fiscal year,
It's
but it's, I just printed it.
Well, they are the
So they are
finalized
the-
number from last fiscal year. The books are closed at this point, so I would not anticipate any changes and certainly nothing significant.
So the first report you're receiving is expenditure, and that's the one that I've got highlight markings on, and the second one is revenue.
I'll take the extras too. Thanks.
Oh, and then finally, I'll pass one more out. It's a bit of a cheat sheet of basically what you have in the two full reports. It's just kind of a breakdown to simplify what these two reports are saying. Steve, do you have an extra copy of the rev? I think I just passed that all out and didn't leave one for myself, the revenue.
Hasn't gotten
Oh, I got it.
down to me. I
got
have
it.
an extra expenditure.
Randy's keeping a.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right, I have that. I have a revenue.
Savaro, do you want one? Do you want to go along with us on this, or?
Okay, we'll start out with expense, if you'd like. So you'll see on the first page, I've highlighted 1501, that's Fund 1501, that's Parks and Rec Commission. So where it says revised budget, so we were estimating that it was going to be at a cost of close to 9,500. Actual, where it says year to date, if you come down from there, you'll see it was 86, almost 8,700. So slightly under budget, and that's basically the time Steve and I allocate to dedicate to the Parks and Rec Commission. That's part of that expense.
That's 1501.
That's 1501. So then if you move on to page 3, you'll see Fund 1502 at the bottom of the page that I've highlighted. And then, so we budgeted for 266,175. So 1502 is admin. It's just admin costs, front office staff, some of my admin time, and rec coordinators' admin time. That's all considered admin time, that
So
that
Sophocles,
fund.
when you fill out a timesheet, do you actually break down your hours? If it's an 8-hour day and you had 2 hours in this capacity and 4 in this capacity, is that how that works? Is that how you track that?
It is how we track, not just
Okay.
me, but other staff.
Right. I was
So
just
if you're working program, you put the hours down to whatever particular program, and if it's admin time, you put it to admin. Yes, that's how all
We pretty much
staff-
do the same thing.
Yeah,
We've got 19 line items, and whatever function they're performing at that moment, they track on a daily basis,
Okay.
so.
so that's what that cost is there, that 283,690, that is admin costs for staff. And then if you go to 1503, bottom of the page again, so we estimated 505,861 for, that's 1503, sorry, is programming. So time for all staff, part-time, full-time staff, time allotted for programming. That was 505,861. It actually came out, you'll see if you follow that year to date, it came out to 517,335. Any questions about that?
What's the over?
So you're over 11,000?
That's right. So, and
Which is a
you'll
good thing, actually.
It is a good thing.
You might explain why.
Yeah, it just means, what's that?
Oh, sorry, I was thinking, because you made it up in the program.
Right, so if we added a class, if we brought in more funding, we brought in more funding. So we had to, class numbers increased in, let's say, CrossFit. So we had to pay out more in CrossFit. So some of the expenses you see there are for paying out instructors. So if that number increased, then consequently the revenue increased. So they took that part, at least in programming, that increase in expenditure was a direct result of needing to pay out for programming, which would then mean that we brought in more revenue.
So more
Does that
money
make
in,
sense?
more money out.
Yeah.
Can I make
Hey,
a suggestion?
welcome to Business 101.
Yes. So you'll see the bottom line on the last page. The total was, we estimated that it would be 708, the cost to run the rec department would be $781,521. It actually turned out to be $809,707. And again, the biggest uptick was the result of programming costs. But again, I'll reiterate, those programming costs were a result of needing to pay instructors for an increase in classes.
Another way you can kind of look at that is you look at the difference in the revenue in terms of the budgeted amount for what we took in for the programs was 27,000 greater than what we budgeted. But then when you look at the expenses, it's, it's comparable to that.
You were up 27 and out 28,
Yeah.
so there's like $1,000 difference. That's
Yep.
what I saw.
Yep.
Can I make a suggestion that, I'm
Sure.
glad we're going through this, but in the future, can these be emailed to us with the agenda so we can look at?
Sure.
Sure.
This, so we
Yeah.
can also look at it, it's one thing to go through it right now, but
Sure,
it'd be
and-
nice previous to the meeting.
I agree. Yeah, my apologies
That's
for
okay,
not
just-
giving it to you prior.
Whenever
It
we do
would be
budget
nice.
stuff, it's like I gotta absorb it,
Yeah,
and it's really
it-
hard to go, oh.
Yeah, and I tried to put it on this little cheat sheet here too, but
Yeah.
even still, it's still a lot to digest. I mean, I
Yeah.
look at these frequently enough, but even looking at it as often as I do, it still takes some figuring out. And then, so to go now to, and we can ask questions after I go over revenue. I'll give you an opportunity to ask any questions going back to expenditure if you'd like to, but you'll see all the programming revenues, and so if you go to page 3, you'll see the total amount. So we estimated that we were going to bring in $411,133. We actually, if you go to year to date, which are our final numbers, we brought in $438,463. If you remember fiscal year 12-13, it was $395. So
And I think the year before that, it was about 360.
it's 360 something. Yes. So again, without seeming too optimistic, if the trend keeps going as it is, maybe we'll tap 450. But I always get stern looks from Mr. McClary about the pie in the sky, and but we're reaching and we're trying to add new programming, and that always makes a difference. So any questions about the revenue numbers or any of the projections? So you'll see if you refer to your little charted cheat sheet there, so it shows recreation revenue at 438, 463. It shows the city general fund subsidy at 371, 244, which put us at 809, 707. Coincidentally, that was what the expense total was. But I'll just go through that. So the Park and Rec again was 8681. I'll get to the capital improvement fund in a second. The admin cost again was 283,690. And the programming costs were 517,335. The added in 58,185 was actually the overage. What we made over in revenue and subsidy. So you see the revenue is 438. You see the general subsidy was 371. Our total expenses weren't actually 809, 707. They were the total of 517, 283, and 8,600. So we put in the 58,185 to basically balance the budget, and then transferred that 5,185 to Fund 31, which is capital improvement fund. So of that 58,185, the breakdown is just what you see on the cheat sheet that I wrote up is 10,895 of it will go to vehicle equipment replacement fund, and then the remaining part, the 47,290 would go to rec capital improvement fund.
And the capital improvement fund expenditures aren't on either of these budgets, correct?
That's correct.
They're not.
That is correct.
Another budget with,
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Right, the capital improvement budget, right. And then just to remind everybody, this is separate from the other large pool of capital improvement money, which also gets used to improve
Right.
parks and whatnot, but this is like our allowance.
Yes.
this is the allowance every year. This isn't part of the larger capital.
That's correct.
Okay, that was what I was trying to figure out. Okay.
That's
So-
correct.
So all of it's held on the other budget with facilities for all the city and all of that?
Yes.
Okay, all
Right.
right. So this is just smaller things? This wasn't a project, this wasn't anything to do with the remodel or any of that kind of stuff?
Correct,
Okay.
but you bring up the remodel. Remodel was a good example of something that we funded out of
The
this
Oh, okay.
from a previous
This
year.
was, right, this is what's in this year's.
That's what we were able to basically save and
To
put
carve
into the
out.
rec
Okay.
capital improvement fund
So when
from
we
last
were-
fiscal year.
So when we were talking about that $20,000 expenditure for planning for Sarasota, we could look, when we talked about additional funding if needed, the city council could actually come back and look at this and say,
That's
you
true.
have some reserves, do you feel comfortable?
That's true.
Using those?
That's a
Right.
good point.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes. In addition, correct.
Yes,
Okay.
Yep.
yeah.
I'm not sure, Steve, and you can correct me, but for example, the resurfacing of Sarasota Park's playground that we're going to do in December, the starting then.
Yeah,
Are
that
we,
came-
aren't we using, and I think it's at a cost of $10,000, as you may or may not be aware.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we allocated that from that. I'd have to go back and double check.
But I
I
think
may
the
be
point
getting
is
mixed
good,
up.
which is not about the exact amount, but that there is funding.
It's the fact that there's additional funds.
Yes.
It's a
so
good
that-
place to
so-
point to,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I know we did the skate park maintenance, for example.
I was gonna ask about that.
Is coming out of this.
Nice job.
Kitty.
Well, it'd be interesting to see, just out of curiosity, next time when we get more budget information, that account breakdown. I would
Where it's
just
at
be
now,
curious.
yeah.
What's that?
Where it's at now.
Well, and just what we're doing with that money, because it's not gonna show here, because it's not part of this budget.
And actually, that's perfect, because we're going to have our Public Works Director, Greg, come back, perhaps as soon as the December meeting, to talk about all that stuff again. So we haven't forgotten about that, and that'd be a good time to address it, so.
Thank you.
Yep, good questions.
Any other comments, questions about the budget?
No, just, it's good, just emailing it, that's all.
One-
Oh, yeah, ahead of
You can-
time.
Yeah, just so.
Point taken, Ms.
Thank you.
Rylander.
Sure, and if you want to put it back on the December agenda for any further second look or anything, we'd be happy to do that. The other thing I just wanted to point out that our revenues are now exceeding the general fund subsidy, and that was not the case before. So let's hope that trend continues.
I saw that. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we can just have them match it.
And actually, I know this sounds a little like I'm laying it on a little
I
thick.
might be able to help that out.
But I don't want to take this moment pass without giving recognition to Sophocles and the crew at the Recreation Department. And I would also like to include the members of the commission for your support, the additional eyes and ears and ideas, and also additional mouths to promote the department and give us thoughts on things that we can do and do better. You know, not to dwell on it too much, but I know one of the things several years ago was, you know, let's get a Facebook page. And, you know, that came from this body, and I think we're really reaping the benefits of that now. But again, really want to give credit to Mr. Katsas and all the recreation staff for their hard work.
And you.
You know, without the people, the programs don't happen.
And Steve, thank you, because you're also a huge part of that change.
You're welcome.
And have been
Right.
here for the whole path.
It's been a positive.
Absolutely.
It's been a
Really a
benefit to the
positive.
city.
Yeah,
Yes, it has.
So thank you. Thank you both.
Move on to number 10, commissioner reports and comments. Does anyone have any? I have a little bit, but does anyone else have?
Gotta start here and go down, or?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, I just want to come back and confirm that we're going to set up a meeting for the skate park operations.
Yep.
And facilities sooner than later, because it
Yep.
feels like it's moving a little faster than I'm comfortable with.
Oh, yeah.
And that's it for me.
And mine's just about Ojai Day. I just wanted to thank a couple of people that put together the skate contest. Brian and Ashley Wilson really helped organize that young couple here in Ojai, and it takes it's all volunteer and time, and they have like 5 jobs, so. Anyway, and then and everything else was donated, from the prizes to the trophies. Image Source donated, and Allstate donated the money for the trophy, you know, part of it, and Tammy Winbury donated the funds for the number, you know, so everything was just given and helped out. And we had 5 sessions, and we had 110 spots filled. It was a lot of kids skating, and they were from Santa Barbara, Thousand Oaks, Fillmore, we had someone from Santa Monica, an adult in the bowl contest, and Ojai kids in Ventura. So, you know, it was nice to find out where they're from and see a lot of people and meet families and stuff. So that's all. It was a good day.
Well, I personally had the most fun at the Ojai Day, and I've had it a long time.
What'd you do?
I just got to wander, and I saw a lot of great things. I remember at 2:15, I forget where I was standing, but it was at 2:15, it was, 78 degrees. I was in the shade, there was a breeze blowing, and I just saw nothing but hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, just having a great time. So it was a great feeling. And then my guerrilla signage for city council was paying off dividends. And but I'm telling you, it was just a great day for all. This community really enjoyed themselves. So
I never left a skate park, but I heard it was really nice.
no, it really was. It was set up. It was set up properly. It was coordinated properly. And I asked a lot of vendors how they felt, and nothing but positive feedback all the way around. It was incredible.
Okay.
A great day for Ojai.
Yeah, I only heard good things, so.
Yep.
Anything?
Anything, Doug?
Nope, sorry.
Okay, so now we have time for our city council member. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening. First off, congratulations to Chair Haney, soon to be city council member.
Thanks,
And I'm
Laurel.
looking, it happened 2 years ago, so in 2 years, I'm looking for somebody else in this commission to step up.
Austin?
Just saying. And fellow commissioners and staff, I really do appreciate the work that you're doing. It's really good. When I got on this commission, it was during a lot of difficult timing, and now it seems to have a lot of open deliberation, and everything seems to be just moving along just fine. In terms of the city council, there are a couple of things that are on our agenda that could potentially relate to this commission, in terms of we are looking at our budget, our fees, and then we decided not to change any of the recreation fees, just because we wanted this commission to have the opportunity to look over everything. So a perfect example is looking at the advertisement and seeing if it is really adequate. I did see on one of the packets that Moore Park had a fee for online advertising. I don't know if that's going to be suggested. There's going to be a lot of opportunity to really digest what we're charging, if it's adequate for our public, et cetera, et cetera. The second thing that's going to be on our agenda coming up is our website update. So we did put an RFP. I hope that the council as a whole could really direct staff to really take an opportunity to update this website, not only the city's website, but incorporate different departments, the recreation, the public works, the building department. So it definitely has an effect on this commission. The third thing that we're working is on the neighborhood planning. We're still trying to hash that out, but again, it has potential effects to this commission in terms of the Zarzodi plan, the master plans, and the master plan, the bike, the BMX, how that's all going to work out. So there's a lot of planning. There's a lot of improvements that are going around. It just keeps going and going, and I think that's a positive. And then the last thing is this confiscation ordinance. It is coming before us on December 11th, so your suggestions are well taken. I think it's really good for us as a council member to feel like this is just a tool. And if we want to add a webcam, and I felt like that was a consensus, that could be an opportunity for us to advertise the skate park a little bit more. But in terms of monitoring it, I do agree with your comments, and I think that we should stay away, that the community, the skater community themselves have done a fantastic job at controlling the amount of, or controlling the users in terms of not letting the scooters and the bicycle people get into the skate park. But fantastic meeting. I think you guys did a great job. Staff is doing a good job, and I don't know if you have any questions for me or not.
Do you guys have anything? I think we're
Thank
good.
you. You guys
so
have a
much
good evening.
for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
appreciate it.
So, I haven't met with, boy, I drank, water went down the wrong way.
Oh, I hate that.
All right, so I'm tearing up.
Don't cry, it's your last meeting.
I haven't met with the city manager, but so, is this my last meeting here?
Well, if the commission chooses to meet on December 4th, you will not be seated until that would be the first Thursday, and then you're seated on the second Tuesday. So there is another regular Parks Commission that's on the calendar.
I just wanted to save my goodbyes for the appropriate time, and to say, but right now, just from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you, guys.
Thank you.
It's been a wonderful experience for me. So,
Learned a lot from it.
I'll say it again, it just has been. It really has been, and I would recommend this to anybody in the city to participate in this part of our government. It's just incredible. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I know, I'm so excited.
Okay, so, young lady,
Okay.
I think you did it.
So
Did
future
it?
future
Oh,
meeting dates.
Future meeting
Thank you.
dates. That's it.
No,
December 4th. That's our next one.
mhm.
And December 12th.
And are we going to agendize the bike group to bring back their
I think we should.
plan
Can we
and
put
what
them
they
on the
have
agenda for
already?
next time?
I don't know how fast.
Get
I
it done.
will try.
So can we put that on there as an item unless it can't come through?
Mhm.
But that's
Sure.
on there.
And I'd like to
Sure.
put that as, just like we did with the skate park, put it at the top of the agenda, because a lot of times it's kids, so they can
Right.
leave, after they're done.
And they
And-
did leave.
Yes, it's school night, they gotta go.
That's right.
And then also, you mentioned that the lights are going in front of the planning commission on November 19th. So I just wanted
Correct.
to say that again for
Yes.
Do we have any other agenda items, or was that it?
That's it.
And I have just one other thing, that Nordhoff High School is playing for the league championship tomorrow night at Santa Barbara City College against Bishop Diego. Go Rangers.
There you go.
And if any member of the commission does have any ideas for any other commission items, you can just email it to us. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Hang on, let me
Steve, I signed these.
let me shut down the
Okay.